read, but I had to do it. Anyway, so there's a lot of firsts with this vehicle. This is the only vehicle today, still today, that has won twice, 2 years, the Triple Crown for install, sound quality, and held the SPO world record. Only. I don't think there is or ever will be, because of the way the formats are done now in the vehicles, it won't happen. That little thing on the side is a podium that I plugged to it. And there's a lot of stuff to say. I don't have time to say, you guys can read, but there's a lot of things that were never used as far as material, electroluminescent lighting. There was a custom alternating charging system that I used, a punch 40 amplifier for the field voltage on the alternator. There's a lot of crazy things that myself and my engineer developed back in the day. And yes, I had my own engineer. He was a buddy of mine, and he worked at Texas Instruments, and he loved car stereo for whatever reason. So he would come to my shop every weekend, and we would try to come up with new things to make the Blazer better. After retail, this is kind of a path. These are shots of my fast training facility. Some of you guys have seen it, some of you guys haven't. Precursor to Mobile Solution, I did fabrication training for this industry. I had people come in and we would build all kinds of stuff. I was mainly focused around fabrication. This is the workshop. You see the router tables. My table saw toolbox. You can see the shields hanging up on the wall. Those were patented in 97. So this was in Stafford. After that, I started a custom home theater company that was all prefab. I would go out and measure the job, come back and build everything, and then go install everything in one day. Then went to Rockford RTTI, then became a regional sales manager. Then came back to Texas, started Momentum Marketing. I know Hector's in the house someplace. Hector still has Momentum Marketing. Very successful rep firm in the Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Arkansas region. And then, as of late, Wave Electronics. It's a national electronics distribution for consumer electronics. We cater to the integrators and security integrators as well. It's been a nice ride. I've been there 15 years, and I've enjoyed it. My brother and I still work together, Ainsley. He's the one who helped me with a van. And we develop products from the home side, speakers, equipment racks, TV mounts, video switching products. So it's still in the business, but just a little bit different. So a lot of people ask me, why did you all of a sudden, after all these years, do something with this van? And I said, well, and you guys can relate if you got kids. How do you reach your kids? How many of your kids know what you do? How many of your kids don't know what you do or really understand what you do? Right? There's a lot of you, they just don't connect. And today is a different world than what it was whenever I was growing up. And I know it's a little funny, but I had kids really late in life. But I have little kids. My daughter is somewhere. Get over to play with my dog. And I wanted to be able to connect with my kids at some level, at some point in time, so they understood what I did. Because this is a lifetime ago for me already. I'm sure 10, 15 years ago, it's going to be really a lifetime. And I want my kids to be able to look at something I did, and it's fully functional, and they get the experience of what it was like, just like you guys have gotten at this show. So my daughter and I went to the storage building where I had the van and I had the Blazer, and we looked at it, and she's like, well, what is that? And so I said, well, it's my Blazer. Well, I want to see it. So I took the cover off of it, and I let her see it, and she was like, wow, what does it do and what is it for? So I'm going to show you guys. I hope we have audio on this. We don't have audio. Well, sorry.
What'd she say?
Maybe I can play from my phone. So essentially what she said is, Daddy, I want to ride in this car. And I said, well, you can't ride in it. She goes, but Daddy, it's got a lot of speakers in it. I'm going to have to go home and tell my mom about it. Because, this is me and her, we have our hidden secrets for Mom. A little candy, you know, with my lunch, I got candy. Anyway, so that was my inspiration, believe it or not. I wanted to have something for my kids. Unfortunately, we don't have audio. So the van, we'll kind of switch back to the van, was built for, originally, this van was built for a rep firm in California, Southern California, Western Sales and Marketing, Doug Ferguson. They had it, and then the rep firm in Texas, New Age Marketing, bought it from them and commissioned me and my retail store to build it. This is the van in my driveway. Right before Chris Payne picked it up. This picture that you see is the original drawings that Celeste Harris did for the paint scheme back in '93. I still have for the van, and she also did all the acrylic. You guys see the acrylic in the back doors and in the front. Those are all original. Celeste Harris at Watford Fosgate. At the time, she was a marketing manager, designer. She did all of that for me, sent her the plastics. She sent them back to me. I back painted them and installed them. They're still the original ones. And these are all the original drawings from the vehicle. And these are some of the specs about the vehicle. Those are one of the first Boyd 5-star wheels and some of the stuff about the vehicle itself, and it was built at my store. This is some of the build stats for the van. 728 hours, how do I know? Because I have all the original build stat sheets. I have all the original invoices for everything. From, you see the green order numbers, those are order numbers for all the product from Rockford. I have all those. I have all the equipment for the monster table that's in that vehicle, original. All the receipts for vinyl, for the paint, sandpaper, you name it. I have every receipt that was built in that van. The right bottom is the build hours, and what I would do for, listen, everything was analog. I would write down every day how many hours I had, and then at the end of the month, I would total those and give Rabbit and New Age Marketing that right-hand sheet and say, okay, 34 hours, that's what you owe me, and he would pay me every month. So this is all circa 93-ish. The van started in March, as you see, and I finished in October. I had no CAD, no CNC, no 3D, no laser, no welder. I had a router, and I had a lot of sandpaper, and I had a lot of Bondo and vinyl. That was it. So it was pretty limited, but that's what we knew, right? That's how it was back then. So the build goals. I watched Jeremy and I watched Tom. And for me, it was more about the conceptual side of it. But the conceptual side of it is the most difficult part of an install. How many of you guys agree? It's not the physical building of it. Once the conceptual piece of it is done, you guys know how to use a router or whatever tool you're using. You know how to make it happen. If I gave you everyone a picture and said, okay, you guys are all going to build this thing, you guys would come up with different ways to do it, but probably the result would be pretty close, right? The conceptual side is complicated, and that's or complex and difficult. So that's what I wanted to hear, how much that has changed. And I was talking to Tom yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and the design path is no different. And the path that I always took with my installs, no different. If you were to look down this list, the one thing that people don't think about when they look at that van, that was not a competing vehicle. That was not a show vehicle. That was a demo vehicle for a rep firm. How different is that? Very different. It's got to be easy to operate. It's got to be easy to change stuff out of it, right? And the focus is it plays loud with the doors open, and it gives a good experience to help sell product. That's what a demo vehicle should do. If it doesn't do those things, then manufacturer probably waste their money. So, easy to operate, simple, reliable, great sounding, should play all day. My goal, even though I haven't played that loud, guys, it's on purpose. I want to make sure I can play the whole show with nothing failing. That was my goal, and I'm almost there. I think it's playing a little bit right now. And then I want to have no visible trim hardware. That was one of the things, because back then, what was big? Buttons! Big buttons everywhere. Suede, you name it. I didn't want any of that. I wanted no visible hardware. And really the focus was to sell product. Now when you look at this picture of that panel, the 6 panels, there was a reason for that. The reason for that is I wanted to focus the consumer that was looking at that van to look at the product, hear it, and also be able to read about it. So one of the first vehicles that demo-wise had something like this. And I had that concept that I wanted to be able to storyboard the vehicle and the products in the vehicle. That was my intent, because it was a demo vehicle. It wasn't a competitive vehicle. In the scale of vehicle fabrication back in the day, this is a very simple build for me. And that might sound crazy, but realize that I was building things like the Blazer that was very complex, that was being judged by 3 different sanctioned bodies. The wiring, the connections, the audio, the sound quality, just the sheer performance of it, the integrity. All of those things are much more complicated and stringent when you're competing, right? So to me, this was like I'm building a vehicle, and I was building this while I was building a Sony demo vehicle, while I was building customer vehicles and dealing with my employees. So it wasn't that I was just, in a bubble building this one thing, unfortunately. So to me, this was just a demo vehicle. I would have never known in a million years that this thing would have ended up where it is, ever. But it did, and I'm very happy, but understand that that's what it was for. So, a lot of people ask me, well, that design is pretty cool. How'd you come up? Well, I have always, from the beginning of time, developed vehicles the same way. And that is always done with a concept driver. And when I listen to Tom, listen to Jeremy, listen to all these guys talk about how they do it, it's in a way similar. So these are original sketches of the door panels, the front and back ones, from 1992-ish, 3 time frame. Okay? And listen, I'm an artist because I'm in school for art, but my drawings, I wanted to just conceptualize thumbnail. These are all thumbnails. And if you look at that door panel, it's very similar to the one that's in the vehicle. I always try to come up with the most visible, impactful position that people are going to be when they walked up. It's either to the back or to the side. The first thing you see when you walk into the side is the door. And the first thing when you look at the vehicle inside, there's got to be one focal point. And that's what my goal was. I had one focal point, but I wanted to draw people in. And the door did that. The back, the same thing. I wanted one focal point. It's that amp rack. You can't miss that amp rack, right? So, colors, layers, consistency with different materials, the way the light is lit and how the light looks was important. Things that people back then didn't even care about was very important that I wanted to have. If I had indentations or something that was extruded and then I had acrylic inlaid in black acrylic or whatever it is in the van, I wanted that to be a consistent theme throughout the whole vehicle. That make sense? That was back then. And this is when everything carpet was popular. So I was trying to bring the design to a different place, but I wanted consistency so it wouldn't look hodgepodge and just too much going on. And when there is too much going on, there's even in brand new cars, the way they design and there's too much going on, I look at my wife's Escalade. I think it's too much going on. There's too many different things going, the movements everywhere, the colors and textures. It's like, oh my God. And then they got it's all black, it's got a white stripe of the vinyl on the door. So I don't understand. It's too much for me. I'm like, that blows my mind. Anyway, so just a little bit about the design side of it for me. This is what I started with. I ripped all the stuff out because it wasn't a pre-built vehicle before. So I started with a nice shell and all the floor wiring. It's all monster cables. Like this stuff is like huge. It's really difficult to work with. It's all aircraft graded, all grommeted, pass through for every compartment. Everything was kind of the same. When I built it, it was kind of done the same way. So it would be consistent. This was the first carpet kit that I sewed. See that mullet guy right there? Yeah, that was hot back then. At least somebody told me that one day. My wife is like, if I would have saw that, I wouldn't have watched it. Right? But this is the first carpet kit that I saw. I got that in the sewing machine for my birthday when I was 16 years old. And, I saw a bunch of stuff, but this was my first venture doing that. Door panels, we moved from doing pod stuff, and then I started grafting it to the original doors, which at early stages became a thing. but we used that panel adhesive, and we used another adhesive, which obviously it's held up pretty well, to keep those things together. And then you can see I just put some of the tidbits about what was done, threaded inserts, finished panels, hidden hardware, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the same things that you guys do today. I'm gonna go quick. Rear console pods, that was all form shaped. This was a locking design, so it locked. The center console pulled back and it locked in between the two pods, so I didn't have to have any screws for the center console. It was all done with the dash. Threaded inserts, finished grills on both sides. Battery power supply, everything, even if you didn't see it, was finished. That was our deal. Even if you don't see where the fans are, way in the back, even if you don't see the receptacles, which you don't, it's going to be finished. All that back, at the end of the day, everything was finished. That's how we built. Enclosure, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of pictures, but it was 1-inch HDF. Everything was built at HDF. The tuning was relatively high, but I did that on purpose because I didn't want the woofers to get blown, and I tuned it high because I didn't want, and I also put the subsonic, obviously, so I didn't want people to play it too low and burn drivers. Because it was a demo vehicle, and there were additional side chambers to this enclosure that increased the volume, and there was a lot of intensive bracing, which unfortunately I don't have pictures for. I wasn't a good picture guy, because normally it was me by myself building, and I didn't take the time to really stop and take pictures. The amp rack. I was telling Schmidt, he was asking about this. Amp rack was a 6-layer design. It had multiple layers because of the wire pass. It had multiple layers because of the different levels of amplifiers. And it's all 3/4 acrylic. I made locking flange mates for the PVC pipe to go in, to lock into these metal flanges. Threaded inserts, and then it was 3/4 acrylic and 3/4 HDF. So again, it's not a demo vehicle. It was not a competing vehicle. It was a demo vehicle. One thing to note: the bar across the back. If you go feel it or feel the ports are one-piece vinyl, but they're sewn. And I was real proud of that because it's got a sewing machine, sewing everything. But the back of that bar is sewn like a steering wheel. So put your hand and feel that bar. It's all sewn like a steering wheel. So it's pretty cool. Just a little tidbit of fabrication. This is kind of the stages that the back took. It is all glass neon. Wires came through those tubes, and then there was acrylic standoff that was black. That you can see there's a black acrylic underneath the amplifier. That was really mainly to hide any wires that you could possibly see, because the goal was to not see any cables. You can see the glass neon tube around the top for the big piece in that picture. And then the power distributions on one side and the preamp distributions on the other. Pretty simple, basic stuff, right? And then the neat thing about that is the original fuses are still in that van. Acrylic, a lot of hand routed, well, everything's hand routed, but it was all template. Some of it was vacuum template. Check that dude out. Woo! Man, he's even got a pager on. Look at that. And that was in my retail store. That was way before my training class. So this is my path to polishing acrylic, maybe a little overboard, and it took forever, and I got my brother to do most of it, which was good. But it was all hand done. I did not use a machine for any of it, which I didn't have fingerprints, on those days that I had to do it, because that's a lot of work, guys. And that's 3/4 acrylic on 3 circuits. You got 3 profiles to sand on each piece. But look at that acrylic. It's 30 years old. It'll tell you. It's all museum edge finished, and that was the goal. Hidden hardware. This is not that great of a picture, but I didn't have anything else. But I use a lot of foam to build stuff up. Again, the cosmetics mimic the front doors, but a lot of hidden hardware, a lot of aluminum brackets, a lot of hidden screws, things like that. So what's original? Everything. The only thing that's not original is the back panel where the power supply covers are. I made those recently because the power supplies were taken out. Somebody put a cascade in, they flush mounted this big silver thing, and I couldn't deal with that, so I had to just take it out and put it back the way it looked before. But I wasn't going to put 250 pounds worth of power supplies back there when I didn't need it, right? So all the fabric, carpet, vinyl, everything is original. Meaning it's the same material. I didn't recover anything. All the acrylic is original. I did not replace plexiglass. I repolished it. All the neon is neon too, original. It's not LED, and it is original glass too. I did change the power supplies because they were bad. All the product as far as amplifier, speakers, so on and so forth, are all original. Now they had to be refurbished and rebuilt, but it is all original. The paint is original. The front bumper and the back bumper are the only things that were really touched up. The wiring is all original. The symmetry is original. Everything you see is original to 93. That is what's crazy. What is not original? I had to take out the Ungo box because it didn't work, the security system, and I wanted to do some things, so I have remote lock and unlock, and I had a way to turn the neon on underneath. So I made this little thing to put where the cutout is in the dash, where the 6 by 8 maybe in the dash, what it is. So I made this little panel for that remote and the relays. Pretty simple, right? The other thing I did, like I told you, is I made these covers. They're not Astrons, they are covers that you can see the little horizontal legs. Through the hole, the slits, you put a pick tool, there's a little hole, and you can slide them to lock them in. That's how those lock in, so there's no hardware there. So they go in, and you put a pick tool in the hole through the slot and slide those in. And then there's one of them on the very end that has a fan. Pretty simple stuff, okay? That's the only thing I fabricated, but I had to do something. I had to have some airflow, and I wanted it to look the same. So we don't have audio on the video, but I'll just tell you about it. So amp repair, pretty long process. I had to buy a bunch of amps on eBay. I didn't know Michael at the time, unfortunately. All of them had to be recapped. Some of them had transistors replaced. I had to rebuild a lot of the tracers, the traces. And thank God COVID was around when it happened because I was working from home and I had some time to do it. This bottom video, unfortunately, I can't let you hear it, but it is a video of those amplifiers in the vehicle.
Me on stage.
For the first time in 20 years. Pretty cool. Symmetry, 15 months. Symmetry repair. Michael took this project on. I have the dates when I shipped it to him, the dates when he brought it down. A lot of it had to be rebuilt. Look at his inventory of symmetry. I don't know anyone's got an inventory of anything like that. Look at that inventory of symmetry. It's pretty amazing. So that was really that's the only reason that thing's playing. Is because this thing was kind of the center, backbone of this whole system. It had to work. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome, Mark. Thank you.
So, I'm going to try to wrap this up because I am out of time. I wanted to say thanks to Brian, Mobile Solutions, all you guys for making this possible. This has been a really fun experience. It's almost like a reunion, right? My wife and family for putting up with me for the last 15 months working on the van. Jeremy for sourcing things for me because he has, got all his connections and knows how all this stuff works. I've been at it for so long. And Chris for transporting the vehicle up here. I just met Chris recently in person, and he's been really helpful for me, and I think he does an incredible job with his business and all the things that he does. And I did want to I got some little tidbit here. What does that look like? This is the black acrylic on the right side. You can see it from here. I had 2 of everything done in 93. So I'd have backup. You guys can see it? This is the original, it was in my toolbox, of that second piece for that side. And that second side is cracked, actually. So what I did was, I got this out of storage, and I just painted it back, the gray, the original color gray that's on there. And I wanted to give this for my thanks for repairing the symmetry and get my van back operational. It was all really due to Mr. Michael Schultz. Now, if I need it back, you gotta give it back. I'm kidding. No, I really appreciate it. I mean, listen, it's a lot of work, and I'm real happy that we were able to make this thing come together. I was a little doubtful sometimes, you know, but it all came together, and it's a wonderful thing. Look at that guy, he's never got any sleeves on. I mean, you guys notice that? Oh, when I was putting this presentation together, it was really funny. I know I got excited. All these sleeves, shirts. No, I was looking at all these pictures. I looked through boxes and boxes of pictures to put this together. And I realized it's like, I never wore shirts with sleeves. I didn't really think about it. And then, this is a recent picture. When was this?
August.
August.
Last year.
God doesn't have a shirt on yet. Come on. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Mark.
So, this is what I'm going to leave you guys with. You know, it's really impressive to see how what I feel is kind of my baby. Not my baby, but I grew up in this, and I feel very close to it. And it's kind of grown up. It's kind of gotten to a different place. But it's a wonderful thing to see where it's gotten. You guys have just truly amazed me with the level. I mean, you guys saw the build-off panels. You guys saw Jeremy's display, the Apollo rear quarter rear end that he did for his class. You know, if I had to build that kind of stuff, I don't know where to start. It's truly just mind-blowing. I never thought that this would be like this today, and I'm just very, very thankful that you guys allowed me to be a part of this. Maybe next year, I don't know, I'm going to talk to Brian, he might be nice enough to let me do a training soon. I don't know.
Yes, please.
But it's been fun, and I'm very thankful. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. I'm going to leave you guys with this. I'm not an Instagram guy. Have you seen my page or whatever you call that thing? You'll be like, yeah, I know. But I'm trying to be better. I'm going to start posting more things. But I need some help. I mean, I kind of said something to Brian earlier about the glacier, but I do need some help because I need to find some things. This is the next project. This is what it looks like today. It doesn't look very good. It is exactly the way that it was put in the storage the last time I competed in '95, USAC, and I haven't touched it. So I'm going to be putting it back together, and you know, some pieces and parts that I need, I pay, don't worry. But and, you know, maybe come up with something creative, like I said. Maybe there's some parts that, you know, I'm going to send to Jeremy to do, or parts, you know, get other people to help me do, just so we can have some kind of collaboration to put this thing together. Because this is at least a 2-year project, in my mind, because there's a lot of extensive, you know, motorization and control in this vehicle that, you know, I'm not really sure what condition it's in. It might all work. I don't know. I don't have any batteries to tell because all the batteries are custom 2-volt UPS batteries. So that's another topic to run down. So again, thank you guys. Next year's going to be bigger and better. I hope Ron's going to do this, right? And I think, you know, based on what you see here, this event is truly been a game changer and a huge success for all of us. Yeah? Thank you.
On a shot?
I think I broke
On Jackson. Hey, let's give it up again for Mark Fukuda, guys. Okay, who's ready to win the TV? What's up, baby? Who's ready to win the 85-inch Sony TV?